Good evening. I am Dracula, and I'm here tonight to talk to you about some scary records you can listen to that have no music. Just a lot of talking, but talking to make you very afraid. Ooh. And this is the part early on in the video where I stop using this voice and just talk in my normal voice because I'm not doing an entire video like that like I did last year. We're starting off with this one that just got re-released. This is Vincent Price, Witchcraft and Magic. As it says on the hype sticker here, released for the first time in over 50 years, it's reissued. Very nice package. It's a double album on Capitol Records, originally released in 1969. Now on this blood brick maroon vinyl. I can touch it with my fingers because I'm in gloves, but it's purple, people. That's purple. That is a purple record. That is not maroon blood on bricks or whatever it's called. But an interesting album. It's Vincent Price just basically going on and on, talking through the whole thing. I mean, there's some witches every once in a while. Not a lot of background stuff, just his voice. So if you're a real fan of like the last 30 seconds of Michael Jackson's Thriller song, but you're like, you know, I wish it was longer. I wish it was more like an hour and 40 minutes long. This could very well be the album for you. He defines magic to start off with and witchcraft and goes into the whole thing there, the world of witchcraft. Some of it's on the left channel. He tells a story that's pretty much on the left channel about a guy that comes and puts a curse on a baby and the baby's got lice all over its face. So, you know, that's how it starts. We got lice on a baby. Witches helping throughout history. He tells a tale about witches and how they actually helped defeat the Nazis. So there's that. You know, all kinds of things about witches. Witches burning, the Salem witch trials. He talks about that in here. And gives a description of burning witches that I think death metal bands would be proud of. It's extremely graphic, very detailed. So, you know, there's that. He's got descriptions of like torture devices, you know, the thumb screws and the foot things and the guillotines and all that kind of, well, I guess if you're using a guillotine, that's not actually torture unless it's, you know, to the people watching because your head pretty much comes off. So, but this is really nice. Like I said, first reissue in 50 years. It's numbered. There's only apparently 666 of these available, and I got my hands apparently on number 244. They're actually numbered on the back there, so that's good to see because you see a lot of limited editions these days that just say, hey, limited to 500 copies, and there's no number on them, so you don't know how many. This one's actually numbered. So yeah, all kinds of descriptions and stories and scary stuff from Vincent Price, spanning over 2 records here. And you know, you think Vincent Price, you just put this on for the kids. He does go into some stuff like, you know, orgies and sex acts and hexes you can put on people to make them fall in love with you and have sex with you and stuff like that. He's got how you can put a curse on somebody to just straight up kill them. If you want somebody dead, you can listen to, like, I think it's on side 4, about how to just straight up put a curse on somebody that kills their ass. So, yeah, there's that. Vincent Price doing that. St. Louis, native, by the way, or at least he grew up in St. Louis. Got to start in St. Louis, something to do with St. Louis. But the album ends with a heartbeat. I wonder if that's where Pink Floyd got the idea from, because this is 1969, by the way, 4 years before Dark Side of the Moon. But yeah, all kinds of cool stuff on here. Just the kind of thing you just kind of put on and just kind of be entertained. Or you put it on while you're handing out the Halloween candy, or just put it on for some ambience. I mean, as soon as you hear Vincent Price's voice, you know exactly what you're in for. He tells you how to do some different kinds of curses. One thing I noticed, though, in order to conjure, like, the devil or whatever, or do curses, he goes into very much detail about it. You got to have specific things. You got to have bark off a tree that's never bared fruit. You got to have some silver. You got to have some gold. You got to have precious metals. You can't have like some iron or, you know, like a piece of plastic or something like that. A lot of it, you have to be completely naked under a robe, yet you got to have all these things like talismans and stuff like that. It's like, well, where do I put the Okay, I don't know where I'm supposed to put all this stuff if I'm completely naked under a robe. Hopefully the robe's got pockets. Vincent Price, Witchcraft and Magic, just reissued this year. So this has been out of print for a long time. Very, very hard to find, but now pretty much anyone can have one of these Vincent Price albums. We move on to something for the kids that pretty much everybody has. You probably have this right now. This thing is everywhere all the time. Chilling, thrilling sounds of the Haunted House from Disneyland Records. Available in either orange or white. Yes, I have 2 copies of this for some reason. Grew up listening to this. It's not as scary as I remember it being. It's really kind of weak, you know. It's this woman narrating a lot of side 1, and everything is in second person. So she's like, you are bold and unafraid, so you are going to go into a haunted house. And then all these haunted house effects. You have a nice pet cat that you love to pet and talk to, and it purrs back. But one day, you reach for your cat, and it attacks! Wah! You know, that kind of thing. You are going deep into a cellar where there's bats. You are a Chinese spy. This is the one I found most interesting after all these years. You're a Chinese spy, and you're about to get water tortured, because that's how they used to make people talk when they didn't want to talk. They just water torture them. And I'm not talking about waterboarding. I'm talking about dripping water on someone's forehead. That apparently drives people crazy. And that's in this album. And so she's going on like, you are going to, you know, be made to spill all your secrets with the Chinese water torture. Drip, 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 drip. She starts talking like that. Like this fake, like, ridicule the Mandarin or whatever language. Wait, I don't even speak Chinese. So I thought that was pretty bold that's pretty politically incorrect at this point for chilling, thrilling sounds of the haunted house after all these years. I'm sure if this was re-released, that would probably be cut out. I have 3 copies of this, by the way. I have no idea why. I think they're all different. See, like the 2 white ones, one's in color on the back, one's in black and white. You gotta collect them all, obviously. Side 2 is basically everything that you heard in side 1 without the narration. It's strictly the sound effects. This one, Sounds to Make You Shiver. This was pretty popular too. A lot of people used to have this as kids. Nice orange skull there on the back. This one gets a little, I don't know, a little kinky, I guess. You've got moaning and groaning in this. You know, you got the monsters and chains and wind and cats and whatever. But you've also got, oh, 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 oh. It's like, what? Children. This is a children's record? Yeah, this is a children's record. So yeah, Sounds to Make You Shiver. Or to cause some sort of tingles. I'm not sure if they're all shivers. Something more grown up. Now, I did say these were records that had no music on them. This is an exception. This obviously has music. This is Coven and Witchcraft Destroys Minds and Reaps Souls from 1970. This, you know, it has the music, the hippie music on side 1 and half of side 2. But the end of this is what most people are interested in. It ends with a 13-minute satanic mass. You know, very authentic, because it's on Mercury Records, by the way. So you know they're serious when they're on Mercury Records doing a satanic mass. But it's got this guy narrating it, and he sounds like a Disney guy. He's very, very animated. You, and Satan is your power, and the Lord, we're going to worship Satan, and you're going to lie down on the slab, and you're going to disrobe, and you will be part of the... He talks like that, and it's kind of like, dude, I don't know... I'm not scared, basically. Coven had a hit, 110 Soldier, on the next album, the theme from Billy Jack. Go ahead and hate your neighbor. Go ahead and cheat a friend. Yeah, that one. 110 Soldier rides away. Anyway, that's not on here. But the Satanic Mass is, like I said, Mercury Records. It's interesting because this came out in 1970. And if you look on the catalog number for this, this was released right at the same time. Just a few numbers later is a Dave Dudley album, you know, the country guy that gave us 6 Days on the Road. You got a Farron Young album, the country guy that gave us Hello Walls. You've got David Bowie's debut, just a few catalog numbers away as well. So yeah, Mercury Records, obviously very serious. You know, when you want some serious satanic stuff here. This album's kind of notorious because it's got the devil horns. This is supposedly the first time devil horns were shown on an album. And yeah, so there's that. There's, you know, all the script in here as well. I can't open the other part because YouTube doesn't allow that, but there's pretty much a naked woman laying on an altar. So yeah, the bassist in this, his last name is Osborne, and he goes by Oz Osborne. So they say that that's where Ozzy Osbourne got his name. The first song on here is called Black Sabbath. So yeah, I don't know, maybe that's where Black Sabbath, very inspired by the Coven record there. If you want something that is purportedly to be a little more serious with the satanic rituals and whatever, there's always Satanic Mass, featuring a Satanic Mass from Anton LaVey. This is not an original. Those are extremely hard to find and very expensive. This is a reissue on blood red splattered vinyl. I love wearing gloves and being able to touch these records. I hope these gloves are clean. Never thought of that. But yeah, this has a Satanic Mass on it, side 1 and side 2. And, it's recorded live at the Church of Satan, so very authentic here. I didn't bother reading all this small print. I don't know what all that says. But, yeah, so this was out in '69. And, the first part, it's got the organ music playing, and he's basically going on and on about, how great it is that we can worship Satan and all the different, the history of that and spell, he's doing the spell thing too, and the invocation of Satan, trying to raise up some hell there. Side 2 is where it gets interesting because he starts talking more about the principles of Satanism and what you need to do with your life if you're going to follow Satan. And he starts talking about things like, the satanic value system, the morals of Satanism. And I noticed that he's talking, and the music changes from the organ stuff to more of a classical music. And he starts talking about things like, live for the now. Don't live for like some afterlife. You only have one life. Live in the here and now. And I'm like, okay, I can kind of agree with that. He starts talking about don't love your enemy. Forget love your enemy. You need to hate your enemy. Loving your enemy makes you vulnerable to your enemy. You don't want to be vulnerable to your enemy. You're going to naturally have enemies. If you stand for something, whatever it is, you're going to have people against you. So you need to stand up for that and not love your enemy. Your enemy is your adversary. I'm like, all right, I can kind of get with that. I can see where he's coming from there. And then he starts getting into things like, yeah, screw the weak. To hell with the poor. Don't worry about those people. Those people are to be used as sheep and tools. The weak and the poor and all that. Forget that. You want power. You want to be strong. You want to be a ruler. You want to make the rules. You want to, do things and make people suffer. And you don't care about, giving charity. Forget all that. People should be able to pull their own weight and all that. And the more he keeps going on with stuff like this, starts talking about how, be evil and cruelty and all this kind of, and I'm like, what, cast out those who are not like you. You want to be in your own group. You do not want people that are against you or not like you. You want to push them away. And then to top it all off, out of nowhere, the record ends with the Stars and Stripes Forever March. That's how he wraps up this big satanic mass and the invocation of Satan and all the rules and all the things, all the lessons and all the morals of Satan. Stars and Stripes Forever. Da, 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 da. So, very, very interesting. Now, if you want to know more about casting spells, there is Louise Huebner's Seduction through Witchcraft. Now, I don't have this record, so I'm showing the JPEG of it. But I've streamed it a couple of times. It's very interesting. I'll probably pick this up if I ever see it anywhere. I've never actually seen this record anywhere. It's on Warner Brothers, though, so it's not like it's some weird, private press or whatever. Warner Brothers put this out. This was all back in the day, like 69, 70, 71. All these major labels are putting out, like, witchcraft and casting spells, and here's how to do it. It's very similar to pieces of the Vincent Price record, where she's going on and on about how to do love spells and how you have to have this and all the ingredients. She's giving you recipes for all this, and they go by pretty quickly, and each track is just a different spell and how to do it. Sure, you could read this, but why not listen to a record? Because, you're trying to gather up stuff while the record's playing. It's like, wait a minute, I haven't even got the damn hog's toe yet. Just hold on, woman. She's got this voice that's really raspy, and she kind of does sound a little bit witchy and like a witch. It's got this echo on it, but it's not over the top. It's not cartoonish, so it's just right. Just enough rasp, just enough echo to make you think it's like, all right, this is they're trying to be serious here with these love spells and sex spells, and she does go into orgies and sex parties, and of course you have to be naked and all that kind of stuff. So Louise Huebner's Seduction through Witchcraft. Now here's another one I don't have. I've always loved that cover of that. But yeah, I don't have that one, but I think I had this as a kid because I remember these, but I don't have the record now, so I must have got rid of it or lost it, or I don't know what happened to it. But yeah, it's similar to the the Disney one or whatever, but this one is actually more like just stories. It's got 3 different narrators, and this record has it all. A kid that gets scared by lying on a grave and something happens. I'm not going to give it away, but something very ordinary happens, but he mistakes it and actually scares himself to death. He dies. A kid dies in track 1. You go into a dark, dark corridor in a dark, dark house on a dark, dark night. That's this whole like dark, dark thing. You got a boy whose father tries to scare him. The father ends up getting scared himself, and the kid's just oblivious to all of it. You've got huge talking cats. Here's another one I definitely had, but don't have anymore. This one comes on a smaller record. There was a book that came with this. When I was in school, and maybe when you were in school too, like once every couple of months, we would have this thing come in, and it showed you all the books and whatever that you could order. It was by Scholastic, and you could order books, but you had to pay for them. And so what you did was you filled out the order form. You took it home, you filled out the order form, and then you gave the teacher like cash and that your parents would give you, and then you got books that you wanted. I always got the book with the record, and one of them was Scenes from the Haunted House, and the book went with it, and I remember so vividly. This is one of the better ones. Little 7-inch record, goes at 33 1/3, but I still remember things like, Agatha Morley, all her life, hated dust, like a good wife. Dust on a table, dust on a chair, dust on a mantle, she couldn't bear. And then she ends up in a grave with like dust in her face and dust in her eyes, and it just weird like stuff like that. I don't know why these things were made for like little kids. Scared the hell out of me. And then it had funny stuff on there, real quick stuff like Ruth and Johnny side by side went out for an auto ride. They hit a bump. Ruth hit a tree, and John kept going ruthlessly. I mean, I can recite these things like right off the top of my head. So, scenes from the haunted house, stories from the haunted house, whatever. Had that as a little kid. I have got to get that again someday, but I can only ever find the record. I can never find the book that goes with it. So I got to get that one day. Speaking of stuff I had as a little kid, come on now. It's The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. I had this on a little 7-inch record that had a book with it too. This obviously is the bigger version, which I did not have until, like I was collecting records. I got this when I was like, I don't know when, the 90s or something like that. But the 7-inch one I used to play all the time. Didn't even have to be Halloween. And I can recite so much of this too. And, the little kid Linus thinks that, the Great Pumpkin's going to come. So he hides in the pumpkin patch with Sally, and it's Scooby that... I gave the ending away. Never mind. I didn't say that. But it's The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. They have the pumpkin party with the apple dunking and all that kind of stuff, and Lucy and the football and all that. The voices and the dialogue on the record are a little bit different than the TV special. So if you've seen the TV special a million times and you want something that's just a slightly different, check out the record for It's The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. And we'll close it off. I was going to close it off with a bang, but I'm closing it off actually with kind of more of a lame one. Alfred Hitchcock presents ghost stories for young people. Yeah, I mean, it's okay. There's 6 ghost stories on here. They're not really ghost stories. They're just like scary stories. Alfred Hitchcock comes on in between each one of them with his signature sense of humor, like, you may not believe in ghosts, but that's okay. They believe in you. I sit around and tell my ghosts human stories all night to scare them, that kind of nonsense. But yeah, this one's got the one about the magician that turns people into rats, and what else is on here? Johnny Takes a Dare, another one where a little kid, they try to scare a little kid. So yeah, ghost stories for young people, but they're kind of like, I don't know, they're kind of cheeseball and they're kind of boring. They're not as cool as. That's the one to get if you're going to get one of the two, unless you're a real big Alfred Hitchcock fan. So, I mean, there's other ones out there too that are kind of put out by the same company as some of these other ones, but they're pretty much, you had them, you loved them. And yeah, check out the Anton LaVey though, the Satanic Mass, and tell me that doesn't sound like the way a lot of these people who call themselves Christians act today. I mean, it's crazy, especially when it ends with Stars and Stripes Forever. You got to check that out. But yeah, the Vincent Price one's really cool, especially if you're a big Vincent Price fan. That was just re-released. I don't know if they're still available or not. Apparently, there was only 666 of them. So have a happy Halloween, and hopefully you watch some scary stuff, listen to some scary records or whatever. If you're more interested in some of the music, you know, like the metal music that's like devilish or some of the scary stuff or whatever, check out my video from last year. It should be popping up here, so you can just click right on that. And yeah, I do a character voice in my shed throughout the whole thing if you missed that last year or whatever. So again, I'm Robert Fithen, and thank you so much for watching. Hopefully I will talk to you again soon.